Welcome to another Dave TV from the woods. Here I am, making sure I don't push the off button on the camera. Wearing my camo pants, the camo pants hiker. And here's my drink of choice, some Chipotle iced tea. This is like the fifth refill I've had on this, so I'm pretty wired at the moment. And I did my Dave TV for yesterday, and I suddenly thought, you know what? I left one of the most important items off the list. I was talking about the main news stories of the day, and sure enough, here's a beautiful day, by the way. It's the 4th of November, 2014, and I'm walking through the woods again, one of my woods hikes. Don't want to trip there. Trying to get a good grip on the camera without pressing any of the buttons. Lost in the woods as usual. But anyhow, one of the news items I neglected to mention was all the changes over at WTOP. Over the weekend, we got someone forwarded us a memo from Saturday morning memo. You put out a Saturday morning memo when you basically want to kind of don't want anyone to pay attention to it. But anyhow, Saturday morning memo saying that David Burd, Tom Foti, and Randi Martin, with an I, Randi Martin, were all being let go from WTOP. From what I hear, all of them were kind of part-time status. But they were doing what do they call it, a reconciliation or whatever, for 2015, and I guess it was part of the budget cuts or whatever. So those three people are gone. Didn't know much about Tom Foti, although he still does some work for CBS News. You hear his voice on there on CBS News Radio. Tom Foti in Washington. Randi Martin, she has a very sultry voice. I don't know, she just has one of those voices that's just so sultry. And she used to work, oh gosh, she's worked all over there, music radio primarily. I think she did Wash there for a while. I think she was like middays over there. Really, the Randi Martin. I can't do her voice, but I always liked her. And then, of course, the infamous David Burd. David Burd. What can we say about David Burd? He's been in the Washington radio market for years. Remember Baker and Burd? They used to have a show on WPGC way back when, I guess in the 80s, the Baker and Burd show. Anyway, he goes back to that. He was way back. He's going to get mad at me because I don't remember everything about his career. He'll call me up tonight and say, Dave, how many times have I told you about my career and you don't remember it? He'll do that. He will do that. He's a nice guy, but he is kind of curmudgeonly. But anyhow, he worked for many years as a rep for, I think, Capitol Records. He was, all over the country repping. He was the Capitol Records guy who would go to the various radio stations and try to get records played on various stations, and became friends with a lot of the superstar musicians of the time. And he has a load of crazy stories. Believe me, I don't know all the people, I forget all the names, but a lot of really crazy stories about driving musicians around that were stoned out of their mind and taking them to radio stations, and they would do whatever handshake things and try to get their records played. But he has some great stories, and someday I'd love to have him on my Dave TV, and we could just go on for hours about all of his crazy radio stuff and music rep stuff. But anyhow, David Burd then went for many years, worked at WMAL, had a bunch of different roles there. And one of his last roles at MAL was doing the morning weekend show there. And it was a really cool show. It was kind of like very folksy and that kind of thing. It was a nice show. So then he, gets bounced from MAL like everybody does eventually, and goes on to work for TOP. And for the last few years, he's been kind of like, the kind of, what is the role? A little bit of commentary-ish stuff where he does, an interesting take on some stories, that kind of thing. White-haired, lives up in northern Montgomery or somewhere like that. There's something like a dog kennel breeding thing. I don't know. Dogs and horses. Something to do with dogs and horses. That's all I know. So anyhow, Dave is now, along with Tom and Randy, gone from TOP. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, you're getting a lot of crazy mailbag messages like, this means the demise of WTOP. WTOP is going into the river, sailing down the river. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. TOP is as strong as it ever was, I really think. The problem that you do see, and we're seeing that in the ratings, is that WNEW, the rival CBS All Newser that started almost 3 years ago, is starting to creep up a little bit. And they are, I think, having a little bit of an impact on WTOP's ratings. Just for example, the weekly radio ratings that came out today for the first week of November, actually kind of mid-October, actually show HUR at the top space. And we've had HUR at the top place in other weekly radio ratings of recent ilk. So yes, I do think TOP's ratings are not the super duper powerhouse they used to be, but they're still very, very good. And of course that doesn't affect the radio revenue. Who knows what TOP's making this year, but it's got to be a lot. Who knows if it's the same amount they made the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years. Who knows if they're going to maintain their status as the top biller in the whole country. Who knows? But I'm sure they're doing fine this year. But you do see WNEW, the drip of CBS over there. It looks like they're going to keep that format going. They just signed with Westwood One News. They wouldn't be doing stuff like that if they were going to abandon that format. They've got what do they got? The Wizards over there on, is it the Wizards on WNEW? So they're branching out, putting some sports on there. So, I think CBS, and plus CBS is moving into a new studio facility in Southeast DC, right near Nationals Park. So, I don't think they're going to be making any changes significantly to WNEW. So we're going to have them around for quite a while. Plus the other thing is I see CBS sells their all-newsers as one big block, so they go to advertisers and they say, look, we have all-newsers in New York and Chicago and LA and whatever, San Francisco, blah, 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 blah. Why don't you, and Washington, Philadelphia, and Washington too. So, just kind of, that's fine. It's a prestigious market. It's a very prestigious market. So that's that. So that's the big crazy deal. I don't think, it's sad to see David Burd, Tom Foti, Randy Martin leaving TOP, but, significant? No, I don't think it's anything significant. But yeah, you're going to expect this race. Hopefully, for my news sake, for whatever, seeing the news race between TOP and NEW getting a little closer in 2015 would be kind of neat. Anything that makes news is cool. But, I don't know. But I still think, WNEW, CBS can do a lot more to differentiate. They can do a lot more advertising. They can hype their personalities more. I don't think they do enough of that. Yeah, why don't they hire? There's a good idea. Why doesn't NEW hire David Burd and have him do some quirky little pieces there? That would be kind of a neat idea. Ding, ding, ding. All right, folks. That's my Dave TV for the 4th of November. Another day lost in the woods. I like doing these from the woods. There's more oxygen down here, and certainly hyped up on my Chipotle iced tea. My brain seems to just work a lot better down here, I don't know. All right, thanks for watching Dave TV. And as Bill Lord now says from Broadcast House over there, on Channel 9, Buck 'em, Dano.